second speaker is Sheila Smith. She is speaking from the pathway, Engaging Humor, number 3 and 4. The title of her speech is One Son's Resilience, a Mother's Heartbreak. 10 to 12 minutes timer. So take it away, Sheila.
Mom, Dad, stop the van. There's something wrong with Anthony. Shaken, I turned and looked behind me, and there was my son shaking violently on the floor of the vehicle. Calmness took over me. I said, "It's okay, honey. Stay buckled in. We're going to find a hospital. We're going to drive very fast." In Springfield, Illinois was an unfamiliar town, but it's amazing how those blue hospital signs jump out at you. Within 15 minutes, we were at the emergency room door. And thus began my son's 30-year journey with a debilitating disease called epilepsy. This morning, I'd like to share a pictorial account of my one son's resilience and a mother's heartbreak. Okay, I need to be able to screen share. I got disabled screen sharing.
Try now. Try now, Sheila. You should be able to.
I got it now. Well, it didn't always start out that way. Here's Anthony at 6 years old, happy and funny, having a good time with, who's that young woman there? Oh, it looks like his mother. I was young once, and there's Anthony with his 3-year-old sister. And then he loved to play with my dad. There's my dad. He used to make up games for Anthony. There's Fish Pond, and they used to laugh all the time. And then came that fateful day in the summer. They told us he was in the hospital for 3 days having grand mal seizures. They finally got him stabilized. And after all these tests, they said, "We don't know what's wrong with him. We can't find anything wrong. We suggest when you get back to Arizona, take him to a pediatric neurologist. They usually can tell you what's going on." So we followed the directions and took him to the pediatric neurologist. I wasn't very impressed with this guy. He was supposed to be the best in town, the best in the area. He seemed to be very flip with Anthony. He'd made a very quick exam, and he said, "Don't overreact, Mom. This is just onset of adolescence. I suggest you keep him on the Tegretol for another few weeks, and then gradually I'll give you a schedule how to wean him off." Oh, what a relief. Just onset of adolescence. It's very common. Well, it wasn't onset of adolescence. Seizures began again. And these were grand mal ones at night. Finally, we went to Barrows Neurological Institute in downtown Phoenix, which was very famous and known for their amazing the technology in 1990. And the doctor said, his name was Dr. Harold Recade. I'll never forget him. He put his arm around my son. He said, "Honey, I found a tumor above your right ear." But he said, the good news is we can leave it there. And when he talked to my husband and I, he said, I believe all tumors should be taken out, but not this one. I don't know if they're causing his seizures, but we need to wait for the technology. And in 1990, there wasn't even, people weren't even using cell phones in 1990. So he encouraged us to wait for the technology, and he monitored him for several years. But Anthony went through a lot. The medication is strong. It makes you sleepy. The teachers weren't very understanding. There was a change in the family dynamic. Unfortunately, my husband left the family to live with somebody else, which was extremely traumatic in itself for him. And then, of course, Anthony was stressed at school. One day he had a seizure in high school in the science lab. And so then the bullies came out. He fell on the cement floor, and the bullies, a few days later when he came back to school, were drooling and shaking when they went by him. So as you can imagine, my son went from straight A's to, and this is his humor, Mom, I'm just gonna quit and get a GED, a good enough diploma. I've had it with these kids. They're making me nuts. They're so mean. I said, okay, Anthony, but you've got to get some training. Well, he went and enrolled in, became an X-ray tech, and his seizures were actually controlled. But then they weren't. He was coming home from school one day and he hit a car. And he said, Mom, the good thing about me getting in this car accident, okay, I got to give up my license now. But the dude, there's so many deadbeats in Phoenix. He said, luckily the guy I hit had a warrant out for his arrest. So he said, hey, Mom, don't even worry about it. The guy said, don't report it. The guy didn't want to get arrested. So he said, I was lucky. I'm lucky I hit that guy. Again, resilience. And amazing, but my heart was still breaking for him. He actually had a career, but he had to move to Pacific Beach. He moved to Pacific Beach in 2010 because he realized I have to be in an area where I can walk to everything. And his joke was, and he didn't keep very many jobs because the seizures during the day, he'd have these small ones where he would just lose consciousness, no warning at all, no warning at all. And you can't be in the medical field and have seizures. So even though they'd only last like 15 seconds, people would look at him and know something's wrong, and he couldn't work as fast as the other people. So his joke was, hey, Mom, I'm really good at getting jobs. I just can't keep them. Again, resilience. Fast forward to 2019. Anthony's joke then, he had been falling so much. He actually had gotten a job working remotely, but he had been falling so much, he had to start walking around with a helmet and elbow pads. But he said, Dad, I'm in the perfect place, Mom. Everybody here thinks I'm a skater. So, moving on, January 2020. I had moved last year to take care of Anthony when he had any more falls. But we tried some more tests last February at UCSD. Instead, they couldn't find anything. And he decided, I've had enough. He had a back injury in the hospital. They handed him a back brace and told him they couldn't find the source of his seizures. So he'd had enough. My resilient son moved to Rochester, Minnesota, where the people at the Mayo Clinic decided they thought they could help him. The side effects, they decided he was a candidate for surgery after all. There was going to be 3 neurosurgeons on board with a 6-hour surgery, but the possible side effects were facial paralysis, difficulty swallowing, or slurred speech. But the flip side of it was he had a possibility of being 60 to 70% chance of being seizure free. So he decided to take his chances. And there he is. If you look at the size of that incision, resilient. This was 2 days after his surgery. joking. He was hopeful. He had none of those awful side effects. And he was actually seizure-free for 7 days. But his joke was, hey, Mom, look at this scar. I can go in any dark alley and no one is going to jump me because I look scarier than those dudes in the dark alleys. Status since his surgery, he started having seizures again. And he thought it was just the brain repairing itself, but he's still having them. And now he's working on a new diet and the doctors have 2 more procedures they want to try. Right now, he's afraid to try anything, but I'm so proud of him. And I want to tell you some of the facts to consider about people with epilepsy. 1 in 10 will have a seizure in their lifetime. 1 in 26 will be diagnosed with epilepsy. 3.4 million in the US have epilepsy. And 1/3, I hope he's not part of this 1/3, but it could be the number of people who live with uncontrollable seizures where no treatment works. This is the Epilepsy Foundation I'm so proud to be a part of. They've helped me so much. May 22nd, I started a team called Anthony's Allies, and I'm gonna do a run 5K walk for this wonderful foundation here in San Diego. So I've changed my title to One Son's Resilience, a Mother's Pride. I am so very proud of my son, and I'm thrilled to be his mother. Madam Toastmaster.